PR Connections Radio presents.
Did you know your clothing could help balance your body's pH levels? Our cutting-edge fabric technology naturally promotes optimal pH balance, helping you feel energized, refreshed, and at your best every day. Use promo code PRTalk for more info. Tap the link in the description or contact our experts at 702-445-9488 to learn more.
Hi, everyone. Welcome. Happy October. Seasons are changing, and hopefully so are we, right? We're going to change everything about us as we begin to take cover for the new season and prepare to spring up. I mean, this is only fall, right? And I don't want you to fall back and not get up. I want you to spring up. So, hi, I'm Lisa Vasquez coming to you from PR Connections Radio, Liberating Menopause. I am your host. And today we are not just stepping into a month. We are stepping into a movement, moments of victory, moments of change. This is very, very exciting because I am a pioneer in this field. I talk to you and I've been recently telling you stories from the mammography bolt of my history. But to take you all the way back, I celebrate this with the new 40 years that we are celebrating today because that's when the American Cancer Society came together with actually an industry of chemicals. And that's when it was like a 1-week conversation that turned into amplified into this big monthly celebration, but of course focused on the 1 week, the week of the 13th, celebrating the date on the 15th of October. And so sharing all this information, as I said, October, we go beyond the pink ribbon, because sometimes people look at it, it's, that month, and it's, this month is very important. These are bell ringers. It's the end of the year, did our women, did you do your checkups? Have you checked in? Have you used up all the credits that we get from insurances for annual studies? Sorry to hear that. Unfortunately, there's going to be a lot of changes in that industry. So, taking advantage of this time now before any new changes start to kick in with our care and our screenings and our checkups, it's important to really get all this in, especially if all your deductibles are caught up. That really, creates a change. But most importantly, nothing should really be an incentive to really get you to take care and do your self-care. So just on that note, I do want to bring this information to you and share. So as I took this journey, so I was a pioneer. I came into the field of radiology in 1980. I went to school for 1981, 79, and graduated in 81, and the whole world just opened up to me. This white coat that I was able to put on was very magical. It took me through 45 years and 47 now, retiring at 45. But, the magic of, if I could talk about the changing colors of that lab coat, I can share so many tears, so many stories, so many victories, so many moments of, change for sure, because I elevated through all of that. And today, it's funny, when I read my books and study these histories, they've created pretty much, it's funny because of the trenches and the roads I took and the walls I helped break down and hosting luncheons and lunch and learns back then. I mean, education was our power, and we were starting to really speak up about this back then. So I had communities, I got to join women's groups and do a lot of speaking, and it was fascinating and very important. And so this is how my journey started. And you have to remember, again, I was in my 20s, and these women, to have their mammograms and everything start at 50. So some of the things I want to share with you, I also had the opportunity to attend, and it's called the National Consortium of Breast Centers. And for me, and these young eyes growing in this field of technology, and we have just crossed over into special mammography screening, imaging, producing the film with the quality and the programs that were put out to monitor us with the federal and state organizations that protect us and watch over us to make sure our facilities are really doing what they're supposed to do. And imaging has to be very clear. We go through testing. We have to submit films from 3-4 different types of films, and they want to see and monitor how our positioning is. I mean, it's very, very deep, but all this was built up in these years that I grew through it. So one person I really want you to remember and admire, because in if I'm not mistaken, it was 1986 when Olivia Newton-John, I know you guys have to remember her, but I had the opportunity to work with her at a beautiful conference. It was 1992. So these conferences I was going to started about 1988, and they were every year hosted here in Las Vegas. They still are today, but what it was to me was a giant wonderland. It was a wonderland because everybody gathered, like the whole family in the imaging system of breast health, well, radiology, but mainly in the breast health field. So all the machines, all the new machines would be there, and all the new technology and discoveries and creations people were making, and administrators were having their conferences. Technologists got to go to theirs. Radiologists went to theirs. There was just somebody to speak to us all in individual rooms, and then we gathered together, shared things, programs, clinical breast exam, self-breast exam. I mean, I think anything that had to do with breast growing up through this field, I was there. I was there and I took them all. I took anything, every time they said something with breast. Oh, I had to be there. I had to learn it. I took up breastfeeding certifications. I took up the examining certifications. I became a breast health specialist in breast health imaging. But the thing with that was it was mainly focused on nurses. So in my practice of radiology, I couldn't really use it to demonstrate what the power that it had in navigating women through breast health, breast cancer, breast changes. So today, stepping out, being who I am today, coaching, speaking on menopause, and, just the whole gamut of, breast health, because that's where hormones are in the crossfire, right? So I studied everything I could to understand a woman's life as I traveled through it, so I could have answers for me, but not to forget that all the women who taught me. And so with all that, at the time, there was a really cool program, and Olivia Newton-John, she had this really cool, I don't want to open it because it's sealed in, it's very antiquish and very locked in, but she had a beautiful breast health kit that she would provide, and inside there was a beautiful, how would you call it? It was like a plastic cloth, but it was filled with silky fluid, and you placed it over the breast to give you more contact. And remember, when you're checking your breast, you're only using the pads of your fingers. So you lay it on you so you can have a better, deeper feeling of the breast tissue patterns. And, she said, I am committed and excited about educating and encouraging women to take a positive and active role with their breast health, and using this kit allows women to easily perform monthly breast self-examinations. Breast cancer is the most self-discovered of all cancers, and knowing your breast health, as well as yearly mammography and clinical examinations, is your best defense. So this is things, this was approved by the FDA, patented by medical device, and the soft latex-free polyurethane aid with a non-toxic, environmental safe lubricant seal. Inside allows your fingers to glide smoothly. So remember, that's how old this is. I've had it this long. I'm sad to hear when she left us, but I'm always going to remember the time with her, taking these pictures and, enjoying the stories and the studies. So with that, before I really get into some of the things I want to talk about today, the awareness, we go beyond, I said, the pink ribbon, right? I would like to bring and show you, because I became creative and I created this little hummingbird. I don't know if you could see my little hummingbird. Anyway, it's a breast health care pin and it's a hummingbird, and it actually has a little measuring tape on the little wings at the bottom of the ribbon, because that created the breast fittings and, just our health in everything, because certain sizes that we increase to can be pretty hazardous if it increases with our estrogen levels and things like that. So just always monitoring, our size is very, very important. So I wanted to exemplify that, I guess you would say, on the nurturing that we do. And a hummingbird, of course, because, he goes everywhere and nourishes, right? He helps everybody grow and flourish. And again, that's my whole life of what I've been doing. So with that, now we're going to talk about breast health. And I was telling you about that self-examinations. And I want you to, I don't know if you're listening on the road or if you are actually watching this, which I hope you are. And if you are listening, maybe you'll have a chance to see this podcast in view. So these are beads, all right? This was a chain of health. Oh, let me see. Sorry. My camera. So if you notice that top bead, and it can even be smaller than that, because these are sizes of what a breast lump can actually feel like. And it can be as small as what you're seeing there, but it could actually be as small as a bird seed. Sometimes they feel literally like a bird seed, like a piece of rice. And this part of the understanding is, back in the day when I started in pioneer years, these were the kind of lumps that were walking in. I know last week I was giving you some big stories about these sizes and the way they can make their way out of our bodies. And I know it might have been a little, I wouldn't say too much, because it is a reality and it can happen. And one thing to really understand from this point of view is that breast cancer is a real terrorist. It's an attacker. You have no control of it, because we don't know who it's going to attack. It can come at any time. It's very silent. And it's important to understand that this is why we screen. This is what screening was all about, is because things you can touch, feel, are so important. And that's why the examination of your own breast today is important, because I was telling you that a lot of clinical breast exams have cut down. The doctors, I don't know if it's their timing or whatever, but they have stopped not practicing as much. Some may be doing it, but from what I've known and understand here is that a lot of them have stopped that. And so women, it's really up to us. We have that power. This is our bodies. We are in control, and we should be, really taking active roles in this, again, because our rates are going up in our younger women. And this is a place where things have elevated, and we have come a long way in how we take care of you and processes that we put you through. But the point is that to kind of watch all of that. And, as I said, it's a terrorist. So no genetics can be involved, because even if you have a history, doesn't mean that that's going to be affected to you, because I told you there were so many people that don't have a history and are affected. So, understanding all these important issues. I have another thing I want to show you. So this is a mammogram lump chart, and these are found, by accident. And that's what it says. You believe that? This big one up here, found by accident. Infrequent, monthly, conventional clinical breast exams, mammogram clinical breast exams, and then your self breast exams. That's how tiny it can actually be found. But this is, as I said, as I was leaving the field, not all lumps are felt. So that was the sad part about when on my exit I was leaving, and suddenly this goes back to really understanding where you're having your imaging done, really keeping track of the history. And I talk about how comparison studies are so important. And we're going to get into a really cool story about that in a moment, because this subject is very important, as I said, because mammograms, they're not just once, but for a lifetime. They really are. And, I know some people like to go 1 year, wait 4 years maybe. But as I told you, that sometimes after 1 year, things can pop up, right? And it's not normal, but it can happen. And the thing about that is that year is missed. Now we're going into the second year. And just say it was already there and you didn't know, because I said some of these are not felt. Now you come back and it's even gone farther than it had a year ago. Understanding every 6 months takes a change in the body. This is why we ask for a 6-month follow-up. We don't want you to come 8 months. We don't want you to come 3 months. 6-month follow-up is due because the whole body takes a whole shift and change. And so anything that we're studying to create and see if something's going to change or if it's stable is noted by that 6-month change. So that's why that follow-up is so important. But so many women, they actually wait the 6 months for their whole year, and then they come in, and I'm telling you, so many surprises have come in. That is why I take you here, because these are not stories that you'll hear, because even with the doctors, I'm the imaging tech. I'm the one at the front line. I'm where it starts first, before the radiologist even gets the story, before you can tell the doctor. This is where we are the front line. We are the service army that provides this mission to accomplish for you by getting good quality images, by getting you into a mammogram and having you feel like nothing even happened. It's a 1, 2, 3 thing. And I understand some people get really crushed in this. And I'm sorry to hear that, because there is a special touch that's involved in the pressure applied to the mammogram. And I've seen so many stories, so many women despaired, so many women scared. I was telling you about the small physique women, how upsetting they get because of the tugging and what happens. And I told you how I had to master that for a 1, 2, 3 thing, because we don't want to struggle with that and upset her more, because she's already challenged just by walking past that door and taking off her gown. So understanding this, these lumps that I was showing you that is prominent and found today. What's interesting about this one is that sometimes people that are very buxom, very busty, these things can be hidden underneath the breast. So we all know that after changes in life, the fibrous tissue in our breast changes, which sometimes collapses the breast, right? And that's where it drops down. But the thing about that is that this is why you lay back, you put your hands up, and you're all underneath there to feel these things, because if you're just standing there and doing that, for one thing, you're going to have a lot of overlapping tissue because everything's falling on top of each other, right? So you're really not going to feel it. But you can't imagine how many hidden lumps, and I'm talking serious lumps that were very, had a very big diagnosis, were found down there. And it was sad for the woman, because she came in for a mammogram and she didn't even know. So, when we had to tell her that, it was just very upsetting. And I'm not here to really bum you out about any of this, because it's not a bummer. It's not. It's really, it's our chance to take action on ourselves. It's what's lurking out there. And as we protect ourselves, this is what I want to enlighten you on, because we have that power today. We have the education. We bring understanding to you, and we want you to have a lot of clarity on this subject. And again, getting everything done before the end of the year. Every time a season change, we have to change the way we eat. We have to prepare the body in different ways, just like nature does, because, we don't want to be eating certain things that we really enjoy in the summer when we're in harvest time. That's why we have harvest fruits and vegetables that come out, those pumpkins and everything that really show up to give us the protein, the power that our nutrient and our nourishment needs and deserves, because we're preparing for the weather that's about to change, before we can spring up in that spring. And again, that's when our meals change again. But understanding all this is so important for our health. And with the understanding that by understanding this, taking advantage of these opportunities for the workplace. I mean, giving those opportunities. And as I said, it's not so much, I mean, in a workplace, yes, I could understand incentive because, you know, those incentives are really going to lift the woman. And for that, we need that because breast cancer can strike silently without warning and no one knows who or when. And this is what, and then when you have that diagnosis and you come back to work and now you're working under a new identity because it's a silent one, it's hidden, and we're not talking about it. And you have to deal with this by yourself. And this is why, you know, if we speak more, I mean, it's been silent a lot of years. And so by talking about it today is what's so important because we need to stop the silence. I was looking up histories of why this isn't really spoken in the workplace, and it's really not. And that's really because of the confidentiality. And yes, this is a respect for that, I understand. But the issues are out there, whether you hang up posters and just show in a subliminal suggestion that you support us women and you recognize this and, you know, let's change the way the kitchen's presented today because it's, you know, October, fall. Let's change the whatever they provide as food to nourish you, but to nourish you according to the calendar because we live on a calendar life and our hormones and everything that are speaking are really requesting some of these things to empower you even more later. So coming into some of the stories I wanted to tell you with wisdom and lived experience, one big story was this one. This one's very interesting. And so I had a woman who came in and she hadn't had a mammogram in a while. So that was the first thing. So I have this history sheet and she's telling me all about it. But, you know, what's shocking to her is that most women, we have a lot of breast tenderness in our left breast. For what odd reason, it's kind of mystery of the breast pain. And we don't really know why. And it's not because your heart's there. It's not because it's mystery of the breast pain. It's, you know, and not every woman does. And it could be maybe high rates of caffeine because caffeine is a tenderizer in the breast tissue. So if anybody's going for a mammogram, you really want to cut down on that so that you're not more sensitive to the exam. Caffeine is a big marker for that. So anyway, left breast, big. When I first started my career as a mammographer, here I am, as I said, new to all of this, and I always started on the left. Well, it was excruciating. And I didn't know why. And every woman, and I started feeling bad. And I was like, oh my gosh. So, you know, there's different ways. I mean, there was certain routine ways that you study and learn in school, you know, and it starts on that angle and then it goes into a surface imaging, and then it goes back into the angle for the other side, and then another surface imaging. So that was kind of the flow. And then I started seeing all these women in pain, and I was like, wow. And then we see that the tenderness is rising, but it's shocking and it's hurting them. And now, oh my God, do you think you want to proceed when we find out that you're having this sensitivity? Well, we have to complete the exam, right? So as we proceed, you start to see the change because now you get on that right side and it's like, wow, there was nothing there. There was no pain. There was no stimulation of any kind of reaction to that. So then I started changing the way I focused on women, and I would start with the left side on the, well, no, I didn't start with the left side on the angle. I should say I started with the right side on the angle, and then I went down into the two front views, and then I would go on to the left. And by that smoothing way, if anything was to upset her, it would be that last image. But she's already kind of been in the flow, and she's really relaxed and doing this. And there it is. You know, we completed the exam and it came out beautiful and she's all relaxed because without that relaxation in the image, you can see the crunching, you can see the stiffness of the muscle. You can see this woman wasn't really comfortable. So you really want that relaxation so that all the tissue displays evenly in the way we need it to be a reading. So this woman came in and she's, you know, requesting a mammogram because her concern was that tenderness. What happened was it was her cat. She loves cats, and this cat leaped and it hit her on her breast. And that little paw pressed on one part, which could have been a very stimulated part, because sometimes in that breast tenderness, it's not always the whole breast. It could be certain pain points on there. So anyway, the cat hit the breast, and this is what stimulated her to come in to get this mammogram. And that was her concern with the write-up on the history, which she was all about this left breast pain that she was having after the cat leaped onto her. So as we continue, now this study has to be a diagnostic study because we have a screening routine study, and that's no symptoms. That's somebody who's just coming in. It's time for their annual checkup, and they want to get their checkup, their self-care, their checkup is here. That's what a screening routine mammogram is. And that's all we're going to do. We're not going to do anything invasive, investigative, because that's not what that study is. That's for us to start the scouting. And so then it goes into our automatic pile and gets waited to be read. And then, sometimes we'll get into that one moment about those comparisons. Anyway, so here's this woman. So now she signed up for a diagnostic study, which will include ultrasound for that left breast, because that's the breast of concern. And so we're continuing the exam. Now, at the time I was doing this exam, I was only in the 2D imaging. So this is only the 4 pictures. We didn't have the technology that we have today with 3D imaging. So there's those 2D imagings. And ultrasound, of course, is even more important at this time because we lacked the breakdown of the tissue patterns with 3D at that time. So after we finished our exams, I finished my exams, to my surprise, because as you know, I'm behind the scenes, I'm behind the screen, and I can see what's happening. And there it was. I got to the right side, and unfortunately, there was a breast cancer visual. Now, you have to remember, she's concerned about the left, never even thinking something like that could happen, because it was a, startling moment with that tenderness, pain. So we send her on to ultrasound, and now we're going to have a much better confirmation of what's going on. And this woman came into what we call is a BI-RADS4. And this is a highly suspicious area that we need to suggest more investigative studies. We need to talk to her doctor and inform them so they can get her to return back. We need to do a biopsy. And now her life is about to change, because until those results of pathology come back, we don't have a full confirmation. But from what we're seeing, sometimes, as I told you, the true colors exist, and we can tell pretty much. And that's why it's a suspicious area. And this is how it has to be documented. Next week, when I talk to you, I'm going to tell you about the imaging positions and, what these BI-RAD codes mean, and what that letter that you get that talks about breast density, what that's all about, because we didn't have that a long time ago. So this is really cool. So anyway, so unfortunately, this is what happened to that woman, and sorry, I think when I do that, this is just one of those stories of that silent attacker. And think about it, if it wasn't for her cat announcing this to her, she may have never come in, and we may have never found that. So this goes back to the armor, and because of the prevention in the form of power that we have today, by being proactive and doing this, again, I bring you these stories. And it's not to alarm you, but it is to tell you that true stories do take place with women behind closed doors in the mammography room on a daily basis. And, we just don't know who that's going to be. As I said, it's a terrorist attack. It comes and it takes over. And, having these different forms of, sometimes your mammogram can come back negative. Sometimes it can be just benign. Sometimes it can be, follow up. There's just different titles and ways that they conclude the readings after they do their impressions on this imaging. And that's mostly because, thanks to federal and state rules, we have to make sure that a woman knows everything. And then a letter is sent out to her, but her doctor's already aware. She's kind of been noted and been informed. And so now, here's where a lot of mentality, mindset kicks in, because she, whether she drove by herself or she has somebody with her, women really conceal this. And it's a very sad moment when I understand that, because you want to tell anybody, you don't want anybody to be startled by it. You don't even really know what's happening. And so how do you start to discuss this and even say that? Sometimes women go and say, hey, they found something on my mammogram and I have to go back to it, and, sometimes, they're okay with that. It's all about the mindset and mentality, and everybody is different on the reactive reaction to this. And so it's just about what's happening to me. How did this happen? That would be the next thing that goes to take place. And this is where, that hormone condition I'm talking about, understanding that, that before we even leave the house, we apply almost 500 different items to ourselves before we leave to go to work. And this is very interesting. And, this is new technology too, because, not the fact that anything that we apply to our skin, biggest organ, right, on our body, is straight into the blood system. Straight into the blood system. That's why we put patches on you sometimes for medicine, or, hormone patches, anything. But anything that's put and applied to your skin is automatically absorbed. It's like your skin has a big mouth and it takes it all in. And this is where we get to unfortunately toxify our body, I guess you would say. We have certain shampoos, we have certain lotions, we have a lot of makeup and a lot of deodorants. There's so many different things that we apply. I know it's not easy to be in a holistic world and stay all natural and do all those things, but being aware of what you're putting on yourself, and is it really necessary? I mean, ever since I retired, this is really cool, and a cool part about what I do, because I get to lay back. I don't have to put nail polish on. I don't have to you put oils on and, things that are really going to moisturize your body, like coconut oil, vitamin E's, different things that are absorbing into you to be good. Now, I'm not saying all the oils, because we don't want to bring any kind of other congestions into your skin, but there's just a lot of natural ways to apply to your skin and help. And so, there's fragrances that we put on. There's nail polishes, I was just saying. And then remember, and again, I love all the fashion, all the statements, wearing nails, doing the nail thing. That is a really great thing. But again, there's a lot of women that I understand and know. And, that artwork is like so addicting. It's constant, and you don't want to be caught without your nails, especially when you're at work, right? But you have to understand all the toxins, all the chemicals that are going on there, all the glue. And I could say that because I did I have done in the past modeling. I have been entered in pageants. I have done things where, these things are necessary for the outfit and, for how you will, present yourself. But one day I needed some nails, and they put on so much glue on those nails. Now, it was a kind of like an emergency. I needed it for like right away. So I went, and you believe around here, because I'm from Las Vegas, Nevada, right? So we have maybe there too, wherever you're at, but we had a 24-hour nail place around. And funny, because my husband found it for me because I was in such a panic. Like, what am I going to do? So we went there. And it looked all cool. I thought, yeah, great, I'm gonna get my nails done. But the guy, after I seen him putting on, I never really watched them do the glue thing, but I felt like it was a lot. And this is like super glue stuff, right? I got sick after that. I mean, there was so much that I pretty much got a little toxins in my body. I felt sick. I couldn't believe it. And, and then those things are not easy to get off, right? But it didn't matter at that point, because it's already absorbed into me, and I could already feel the difference. And I was like, wow, that's just really crazy. So, definitely never, unfortunately, went back to that place, but always watched and, started doing, they have this other really cool way to do it. It's called a nail dip, and it's with powder. It's not so much with that, a lot of the toxins that go through it. So if you ever go out for nails and it's a dipping powder, I think it's really cool, because they take your nail and they actually dip it into a colored powder. And then when you look at it, it's all right there, like all natural. It's a really good practice. So if I do it, that's my girl who I'll go to get that done. So outside of that, antibacterial soaps, a lot of that stuff, toothpaste, plastic containers, cosmetic packaging, let alone some of the detergents that we use on our sheets and everything we sleep on, cosmetics, packaging, all these different things, lipsticks. Oh my gosh, lipsticks, yes. For sure, the moisture, the processed foods, the junk food, all these things that create could actually put the house on fire inside our bodies is what I call it. That's the inflammation building up. And besides the stress levels that are raising the cortisol levels and really putting the house on fire. And so by, cutting down on some of these or really just looking into some of the things you're doing, but most importantly, even though you read those labels and you still need it, but it has all those chemicals in it. I mean, at least know about it and be aware of some words that can be pretty ferocious out there that you're applying to yourself that are masked in different languages, different names, but they really mean what I'm talking about. So thinking about that, just really understanding these things because it's so important. And often some contain a lot of hidden disruptors, a lot. So you just don't know. And, this wasn't how it was. Like I was saying, back in the environment of growing up a long time ago, I saw women and they were coming in, they were, very alive in their presentations to me. Their hair was, fully loaded, a little on the over healthy side, but nonetheless healthier. And as I started to see the difference, I think about 1998, I started watching and seeing a decline in women who were coming in for these mammograms and wondering, wow, her hair is pretty thin, or wow, and so you could see it because sometimes the readings are right on you, whether you're hoping that it's not looked at, but you can see some of these things that show from the inside out. This is why I'm all about that internal connection, nourishing from the inside out. Growing up, my whole study was with the lens of radiology, looking inside the body. So this part wasn't as important because I was studying what was inside. I was studying all the different things that were happening to us inside and trying to figure out ways to avoid some of that stuff, being so young. But, so we want to choose fragrances free of essential oils and base products. Glass, use glass instead of plastic. I know there's a high rate of plastic containers out there, and that really does make things easier. But using glass, especially, again, trying to eliminate that plastic. We are a big plastic field. I mean, we think it's just out in our land fields, but it's not. We're walking plastic bottles. I mean, if you're always drinking water and doing these things, I mean, it's all in us. And that's why it's important to keep our immune system up, to keep our body nourished, to keep our army strong, to fight these things off. You want to scan labels for parabens, free of phthalates, free. BPAs, free. These are some of the names, but here's an app for you. Think Dirty or EWG, Skin Deep, to check out your products and just see what's happening. And but I think that's pretty cool. Think Dirty, right? And because we are all junky inside, we really are. I recently have started a new program with nutrients in my health voyage in modern menopause, and I'm looking forward. In the week of the 13th through the 17th of October, I will be hosting a Lunch and Learn daily Facebook conversation just to bring the awareness and talk about this a little louder. I hope if we could put the link out, I can invite you all. I'd really like to meet whoever's out there watching me, and I really appreciate that. We did celebrate over 100 cool notifications about how good we're doing on this, and I'm excited about that because when you don't have time to listen to me here, you can actually download it and listen wherever you're at. And there's so many links and so many ways to contact prconnectionsradio.com, so that is exciting. And I am just looking forward to really sharing more about this voyage to bring the proactive attitude of awareness, taking action, taking those steps to take care of you, because you got to be there for somebody else for sure, or somebody else who could be a little canine guy or a little birds of feather, waiting for you to come home and be there for them, besides the family members and the children and the spouse and the husbands, or your dedication to what you're doing in this world to create a change for us, because we all have a story and we are all waiting to hear yours. So let's make this a good one. I just want to be there to help guide and let you know that these things are really out there. They happen. I've seen it. And I, again, promise my women in those rooms that one day I hope that I can announce all this, amplify this voice, and really talk about it. So thanks to October, I have a voice. Thanks to prconnectionsradio.com, Liberating Menopause is alive. And I am so happy to be a part of this movement. And because, again, it's not just for, not just once, but, for a lifetime. And I'm looking forward to how that's going to roll out for me, talking to you. Everyone, thanks a lot for joining me. Have a great October, okay? Because there's a lot of tricks and treats out there. So I hope you're enjoying some of this education. All right, everybody, take care. Lisa Vasquez coming to you from Las Vegas, Nevada. prconnectionsradio.com.
This podcast is brought to you by NVisionU. NVisionU has discovered how to impact spirit, body, and soul with spray technology in just 30 seconds. With NVisionU, you can achieve optimal health and start living the life you have always dreamed of. Use the promo code NVisionU.com/VernDix to take control of your health naturally. PR Connections Radio thanks you for watching this podcast. Check out more episodes of this show and our others at prconnectionsradio.com.